All right, I see we still got a bunch of people starting to trickle in, but we will go ahead and get things started. If you haven't already, please join the Slack channel. We'll be dropping resources there. Everyone will be able to connect and chat live in the Slack channel. We also are should be dropping soon the link to the raffle so everyone can enter to win some amazing prizes we've got this evening. Thank you all for joining. I think we'll go ahead and get things started. I'm sure more people will start to come in and join us, but I know we've got a lot of stuff to cover this evening, and we're so excited to get started. So, just want to thank everyone for joining. We've got 26 days until the election. It's one of those feelings where you can't believe it's coming so soon, but also ready for it to come already. So there's a lot of work to be done within the next 26 days. And so thank you all for joining us and for committing to spread the word and get out the vote and share resources with each other and just create that whirlwind online to spread the message to get out the vote. And with that, we've got a really awesome set of panelists for everyone tonight. We've got some people coming from all different angles of understanding how to share different messages online, on social, who have participated in Get Out the Vote campaigns or who have been activists in their own right. So we're really excited to hear from everyone and share some information so that we can all be prepared going into these next 26 days and getting out the vote and spreading the messages. Like I've mentioned a few times, if you've been here for a while, we will be having the Slack channel open for live chats. We'll be dropping the raffle to enter on Slack as well. And then we will be having an overflow room on YouTube, which we'll drop the link for anyone else who wants to see it live stream, and also dropping that in the Slack channel as well. So if you do want to share that around, you can do that too. And then before we get everything started, we know there is a lot going on right now, and we really wanted to ask those who can and are willing to join us in donating to a couple of different organizations we've listed here and drop the link to support those going through the hurricanes in Florida and North Carolina and around the areas, surrounding areas as well. So we'll be dropping those links, and we appreciate everyone's work in contributing as well if you can, and also just building awareness around the support needed in the areas. And with that, we will pass it off to our first panelist. Isabel Mavrides-Calderon is joining us. She's from the White House Youth Policy Team and accessibility advocate, who's here to just talk about their experience in the space and what we can be doing to help contribute. And I'll pass it off to Isabel.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for the introduction. My name is Isabel. I am a disabled disability rights activist who makes content about really trying to make disability rights policy more accessible to people and more digestible because, policy is often very confusing. I am very aware of my audience. The majority of my audience is disabled themselves, which gives me a unique opportunity to center them into content I'm making. I think when it comes to elections, people often forget to target disabled people as a community, despite the fact that 1 in 4 people are disabled. Disabled people are widely left out of conversations surrounding civic engagement. And in a conversation about the communities that are going to be impacted by this election, disabled people are often left out, despite the fact that this election is going to have very large impacts on our community for disabled people, for chronically ill people. So knowing that this is my audience, I have tried to make a lot of content that centers informing disabled people why this election is so important to them. Another huge issue for the disabled community themselves is the fact that there is a lot of inaccessibility in polling sites. For example, polling sites don't need to be covered by the Americans with Disabilities Act because a lot of polling sites are in churches, and churches don't have to be covered by the Americans with Disabilities Act. So one thing that I've tried to put out to my audience is a list of how to figure out if their polling sites or local polling sites are accessible or not, creating a registry for people to find ways to make voting accessible for them, to find buddies that can help them get to voting in a more accessible way, because everyone deserves to vote, deserves to want to vote if they want to vote. So I think that's it's really important to understand your audience. I make videos in Spanish at times, knowing that a lot of my audience is Hispanic as well, like me, which is also a huge voting bloc. So I think what I urge people in their accounts in their communities as creators, to try and look at your voter analytics, try to see who are the people who are watching you. For me, it's the communities that I'm part of myself. But then also to not underestimate other communities. For example, the disabled community that is so often left out. So that is a bit of a ramble of how I try to center my community. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabel. Thank you for sharing all that information. It's super helpful and I think really gives everyone the chance to understand, who your community is and what you can be doing to be really tapped in and in tune with your audiences. So thank you. Really appreciate that. And appreciate the work that you do. And with that, we'll jump over to our next panelist. Before we do that, I do realize I forgot to introduce myself, so you might be wondering who who this random person is here. I'm Nicole Dunger. I am the Director of Partnerships at People First, and I help coordinate all of the political programs that we run here. And really, am just excited to be connecting everyone and getting others interested and excited about spreading the word about politics online. So thank you all for joining us. With that, again, I'll jump into our next speaker, Edafe Okporo, who's running for New York City City Council and a refugee advocate. So thank you, Edafe, for joining us.
Thank you so much. I was really excited to see this opportunity that I get to speak to creators, especially. Um, my name is Edafe. I'm running for City Council in New York City. I think Election Day is actually the end of the election cycle. We have a very limited time between today and November 5th to actually shape the outcome of the election. In America, Democrats love migrants until every 4 years when we have to pick a bone with Republicans on who is more straighter when it comes to migration policy. But I can vividly remember myself on November 2016 when Trump won the election. People were out in the streets of New York, like weeping. Many people were like, how do we cope? So one thing I think about is that there are so many policies that concerns me as an individual, but one that I tend to think about when it comes to election is not why I'm voting for the candidates. Is I want to vote for a candidate that I can fight with, not a candidate that wouldn't listen to me in that fight. So we see in 2018 the separation of mother and children at the border. Trump was not willing to listen to migrant rights activists. Although the Biden administration have passed stricter asylum legislation, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz have promised to listen to the migrant community. And um, as a migrant activist myself, I am choosing to believe them that they will do what they have promised our community. Many people in America are not choosing to believe Kamala Harris, even though she is the most competent person within the two candidates running for office. The reason why is that there is a stereotype about who is deserving to be a leader, especially for a woman, a person of color. I myself, as a gay man and a person of color, have also faced these stereotypes that categorize leadership to be a certain kind of person. Kamala Harris is running against a convicted criminal. Yet, we are witnessing one of the tightest elections in American history. And I tend to think about it through the lens of being someone that immigrated to America, that this would not be a hotly contested election in any other part of the world. It's between someone who has a track record of keeping to their promises against someone who doesn't. So that's why I have spent my time on the ground. We opened the biggest democratic center in New York City, where we get people mobilized to Pennsylvania to canvass for Harris wards, and we do postcarding. So I shared the link in the chat that will give you an opportunity to register if you want to join us in New York City. We live in a blue state, and they tend to say that our vote doesn't matter. But one of the reasons why I took the opportunity to join this mobilization effort is that if you're in New York City, we have a ballot proposal. It's called Proposal 1, which will guarantee abortion in the state of New York. So many people who live in different states, when you are going out to vote, you're not just only voting for the president, you're voting down ballot as well. Because if Kamala Harris does not have the House and Senate, she will be one of the first presidents in the last 20 years that wins in a divided House. That means all the promises she has made to Americans would hardly pass. So let's get out now between today and November 5th to change the outcome of the election. On November 5th, there is nothing else we can do. There are early voting in different states. Many people who work full-time jobs, it's very hard for them to participate. That's the effort I have spent my time trying to mobilize people to go out before November 5th and make their voices heard. So make a plan to vote. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for sharing all of those resources with everyone. And this is me too. All I say all the time is make sure to vote down ballot. There's not only one thing, though it is a critical thing on the ballot and on the election this year, but make sure you're voting down the ticket and taking stock of all the different things that are on the ballot this year. And with that, we'll jump to our next speaker, Julian Sarafian, who's an influencer and lawyer for creators, a go-to resource for everybody here. So thanks, Julian, for joining us.
You're very welcome, and thank you, Nicole, for that wonderful introduction. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. My name is Julian Sarafian, and it's an honor to speak to you tonight. America is the oldest living democracy. We've been a model for every single other democracy in the world. Our country transformed civilization from one ruled by aristocracy and monarchy to self-governance. We did this because the generations who came before us believed in simple but powerful refrains, that we as people are all equal, that the will of the people can and should be respected even when it's not in the interests of the rich and powerful, that the many and not the few should rule. Today, our country faces unique crises that threaten to undo the quality of life that have historically made America so great. Our kids aren't safe in school, as guns have become the #1 killer of children in our country. American women are now the only group of women in a first world country who do not have freedom over when and how they reproduce. And our election system and the right to vote are being attacked for political gain and pursuit. Here's the thing. These problems are solvable, and we know what the solutions are. We know that regulating guns reduces rates of gun violence. We know that being a free country means giving women the freedom to make decisions about their own body. And we know that protecting the right to vote increases voter turnout and participation. To actually get these solutions in play means voting for politicians who will make them happen. And in this race, that begins with voting for Kamala Harris. Kamala led the White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention. She's a fighter for our women. She believes in the institutions of democracy and the right to vote. But let me be really clear, it is about so much more than the presidency. For any meaningful legislation that addresses the problems we face, we need to elect Democrats up and down the ballot. We're hanging on to the Senate by a literal thread, and we need to flip the House of Representatives. But not just there, we need to elect Democrats in state legislatures and in local races all across the nation to make a statement that the ways of the Republican Party do not work and will not be rewarded at the ballot box. So this election season, I hope all of you do not just sit around and hope that things will get better. Be part of the historically American process to choose our own leadership. Register to vote, make a plan, and vote, yes, but don't stop there. Tell your friends and family members to get registered. Contact a local campaign and get involved. The thing that makes America so special is that we don't settle. We always seek to improve. We don't stop at good enough. When we aim for the top, we hit it, and when we reach it, we create a new peak to climb. Because Americans are ambitious, we're strong, and most of all, we're a competitive people, and we care about each other. We believe that we're stronger when we act together. So let this be a challenge to all of you for the next 4 weeks. Don't just wish a better country to live in. Do something to make it so. Thank you.
Thanks, Julian. Thanks for joining us. And we'll jump over to our next speaker, Loren Piretra, who is an influencer, an activist, and really understands how to navigate creator marketing and being online and sharing your messages. So with that, if Loren is here, we can jump over to her. Alrighty, looks like she might not be on quite yet. So with that, we will jump over to Abhay Dandekar, who is an MD, doctor, and host of the Trust Me, I Know What I'm Doing podcast. Thank you for joining us. We're so excited to have you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Nicole, and so grateful for the work that everyone is doing here. My name is Abhay Dandekar, and I'm a host of a podcast called Trust Me, I Know What I'm Doing. And if there's ever been a leader who builds trust in just about every way possible, it's Kamala Harris. With so many creators here, I'm so grateful. It's really been great to learn and share and build community right now at this amazing moment. And it's an important reminder that actually for each of us, with all of our contributions, the little ones and the big ones, our unique work is a very powerful way to connect the dots that link all of us as Americans. Now, very few leaders accelerate our ability to help us connect those dots. Very few leaders understand the assignment of building trust. And very few leaders can thread that very fine needle of being authentic with who we are as individuals and still be compelling enough to bring us together as one. Kamala Harris is exactly one of those leaders, as she always has been, right? As a prosecutor, as an attorney general, as a senator, and as a vice president, because she's not only seeing America clearly with a lofty vision for the future, but she's grounded and relatable, like many of us. And she's always asking everyone, are you okay? Now, I have a lot in common with the vice president. People have trouble pronouncing our names. We were both born in California with hella roots in Berkeley and Oakland. And we both adore our Indian immigrant moms who stand at about 5 feet tall. And like so many of us, Kamala Harris has lived at many intersections, right? Culturally, socially, professionally, and politically. And I feel like she's naturally connected to those of us who straddle different worlds and constantly are negotiating both fitting in and standing out. Now, in a way, for every one of us on this call, we actually have the power to make Kamala Harris America's next creator-in-chief, because she always has solved problems and created solutions with a very important compass of values that steers towards equity, character, justice, whether that's border security or helping working families and small business owners or supporting job growth. She's creating investments in our future that we can actually all be proud of. By the way, so I'm also a practicing pediatrician, and I'll tell you what I'm excited about for the next 4 years and something that we can all share. Kamala Harris, she's going to protect our children from gun violence. She's not going to let any child go hungry. She's committed to advancing mental health for teens and young adults. She's absolutely going to strengthen family leave and childcare so working parents, creative parents don't have to choose between work, rent, medicines, and looking after their kids. We should all have the right to all of those things. Now, let me remind everyone about what's at stake for creators and for all Americans just like us. Just like everyone else, creators need an opportunity economy. Creators are affected by climate change. Creators need home care for seniors. Creators need strong unions. And creators want geopolitical stability in the world. So, with less than a month left, let's go make some digital noise, right? Let's yeet this all out and tell all of your followers everywhere. We choose a new American patriot. We choose decency over division. We choose law and order over chaos. And we choose the adult in the room over America's worst Nepo baby. Remember, conversation is the antidote to apathy. All of us are creatives, and Kamala Harris is all of us. So let's get active. Let's get engaged at Democrats.org. Find your local resources. Let's get excited and write postcards and knock on doors and go canvass. And let's go to iwillvote.com and get that vote out there for you and for all your followers and friends and family. And last but not least, just in case you didn't know it, with a huge shout out to Shamala Gopalan. In Sanskrit, Kamala means lotus. In America, Kamala means POTUS. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was so great. Needed that today, I will say. Will say getting that digital door knocking action out there is so important this year. And okay, I think we've got things figured out. Loren, are you with us?
Yes.
Cool. Thank you for joining us. Sorry about that.
Hi, just a little STEM hiccup. I'm Loren Piretra. I am a creator economy CMO. I'm a creator myself, activist and organizer in LA, and I'm an election worker through Power the Polls. So I am so proud to serve my community as an election worker for the first time this election. We need poll workers to ensure a safe, fair, and accessible election process. Without poll workers, we have poll closures. In 2018, there were more than 200,000 polling locations in use. In 2022, it was fewer than 95,000. So if you've ever felt called to serve your community in the democratic process, there's no better way than working the polls, and you can get in touch with me. Polling places and their closures often disproportionately impact marginalized communities. They're very strategic. They impact areas with high concentrations of voters of colors. It impacts disabled voters. It leads to longer wait times and even decreases voter turnout by creating greater barriers to voting. They know exactly what they're doing when they're closing these polling locations. Plus, you couple that with the reality of voting being really confusing. Voting is confusing by design. As an election worker, I am learning firsthand just how complex and complicated it is. There's new voting methods that are available, new voting laws. Everything varies totally by state and jurisdiction. So here's the deal. They wouldn't work so hard to suppress your vote if it didn't matter, even in our blue states. So in addition to working the election, like so many of you, I'm doing a lot of organizing, taking direct action this election season. And I wanted to share one thing that I found to be most impactful, and it's pretty simple. So it's checking in on your people. So I found that I've been able to register a ton of voters by checking in on my immediate circle in swing states and blue states and holding my group chats accountable. So I'm asking like my besties, my family, are you registered to vote? Okay, prove it. Check this link, check your voter registration, and show me the receipts. And what I'm finding is people are moving around. They haven't gotten around to it. They're busy. Life priorities have changed. So then what I'm immediately following with, okay, here's a link to get you registered. I'm doing the homework and finding out how I can get my friends registered who are living abroad. How do I get an absentee international ballot for my friends who are from California but living internationally for the next couple months? How am I getting my mom friends in New Jersey registered and registered by voting by mail? What I'm providing them is direct links to check their registration, register in their state. I'm doing the work for them and making it super easy. And then I'm making sure that whenever possible, they're voting by mail and they're voting early. I'm sending them a direct link to their state so that way they can request their mail-in ballot. Some states you have to do it snail mail, but in others you can do it online. And then I'm sending them links so that way they can track their ballot. This is something that I do in California and I find to be very delightful. I know exactly when my ballot's been dispatched from the post office, when it's on its way to me, and then I can track every step of the way once it's been sorted. So help them out with those types of links too. I've helped many of my friends who I suspected would be registered and ready to go get their stuff in order. So hold your people accountable. And from there, once I'm getting them all dialed in, I'm coming back a few weeks later with voter guides. So we all know we need to vote for the presidential election. We all know we need to vote blue. But a lot of times people are losing sight of like the local level, and they're also losing sight of the complex and really poorly written measures that are on all of our ballots. So I'm creating a giant Word doc, state by state, with voter guides for all of my people so they know exactly how to vote informed up and down and vote for things that align with their values. Beyond the presidential election, like many of you have said, we need to set up the House for success. So US presidential elections may overshadow congressional contests, but what party controls the House and Senate is critical in determining what a president can do and what they can't do during their time. Republicans are on pace to retake the Senate. There's like 8 close races out of 34 seats. Democrats are actually on pace to flip the House, currently Republican majority, as we know. Southern California has an opportunity to flip the House with a lot of things that are happening here locally. So with the interest of time, help out your friends and family. I know it's easier said than done. Check in with your people. Check in with people who you routinely talk to at your gym, at your coffee shop, at your building, wherever. Make it easy for them. Make sure they're registered. Get receipts whenever possible. Encourage them to vote by mail. Encourage them to do so early. Track their ballot. There's a lot of shenanigans going on. Whenever possible, while we stay on the USPS, we want to get people dropping them off in legitimate drop boxes, which are generally at schools, libraries, public places, and get them a voter guide. I'm pulling together a list of voter guides, again, by state. You can do so easily. And then last but not least, make sure that they know their voting rights if they're voting in person, and you can give them an election protection hotline, which is 1-866-R-VOTE. And then it's also that same kind of in Spanish and Arabic. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Loren. Thanks for all of the helpful resources and for putting the pressure on your networks, and to everyone else too, especially when it comes to state specific. If you specifically reside in a state and you're caught up and I've just did my voter registration, I made sure I checked I was up to date. Share that information with your audience. Let them know how they can do it in the states that they might live, or if they live in the same state as you. So thanks for sharing all that. With that, we'll jump over to Joseph Guarino, a former colleague of mine and the co-founder of Team Pete for Harris. Thanks, Joseph, for joining us.
Hi, Nicole. Thanks for having me. It's so good to see you. It's good to see everybody. This is such a cool event. My name's Joseph Guarino, and I'm a writer. I live in Queens. I'm another New Yorker. Loren just brought up such a great point about winning back the House, about supporting down ballot, because so when I am the co-founder of Team Pete for Harris Walls, and I've been involved with the Team Pete community. Pete isn't Pete Buttigieg. I'm one of those people. I'm a super fan. And I've been involved with that community since 2019. And I had the idea to create Team Pete for Harris at the end of July, when she was feeling around for her VP pick. And they were doing all the Zooms, Black women for Kamala and everything. And I had this midnight idea to do Team Pete for Kamala. We put it together. I just sent it out into the universe, and we put it together. In like 5 days, we had it up by Thursday. And that was like a turnaround from Sunday. And it was incredible. We had hundreds and hundreds of people, and we kept doing these events. We kept doing them every week, and we're still doing them. And we've had like Representative Jeff Jackson, Malcolm Kenyatta, Will Rollins, Trisha Gebhardt, California Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis. All of these people, suddenly I was talking to like senators and House representatives, all these people who wanted to come help, because there's so much excitement, and there's this new frontier of doing all of this activism online where we can get together over Zoom, and everybody wants to do it. Everybody wants to be involved. It's really cool. And it's not just for Kamala, even though Kamala is at the top of the ticket. We can support people down ballot. We have people on Team Pete in every single state. We've had swing seats all over the country. People come on to be guests. Everybody's really excited to participate. And I think that like finding your niche, like whatever you're interested in your community, and just creating it, we don't have that much time left, but we do have, at least three and a half weeks. Getting involved, putting it out there in the universe is so important. Like Team P, we raised thousands of dollars for Kamala. We raised thousands of dollars to reach over 20,000 absentee voters in North Carolina. There's so many things out there to be done that you can be helping with that go beyond just phone banking, even though that's important too. And most of all, as creators, I think that we have a real opportunity to use our creativity and our joy to engage people, to organize voters, but most of all, to fight disinformation, because there's so much of it going around while Trump's hiding in his bunker, brushing his wigs and sending out his billionaires to go lie about everything under the sun. We can get out there and tell people the truth in a fun and joyful way. And I think that's really important, and it's so exciting to see people like you doing that. And I hope everybody stays engaged and just keeps the ball rolling, because we're in a really good place, and I think we're only going to get stronger from here on out. And it's really exciting. Stay tuned, stay engaged, look for ways you can help. If you don't live in a swing state, maybe get your butt to a swing state and knock on some doors. And yeah, I'm looking forward to helping elect Harris Walls. Thanks, Nicole.
Joseph, and thank you for dropping so many helpful resources in the Slack channel. Again, everyone, I see Slack is going off right now, so thank you everybody for sharing all of those resources, helpful places where people can get involved and get active. And with that, we will jump over to Loren Virdure, who is an Atlanta-based creative creative, spreading joy, and advocating for equality and equity. So thanks for joining us, Loren.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Nicole, and thank you, Ryan, everyone who put this together. This is really amazing. Y'all did such an amazing job. I've been so fired up this whole election season. As you can see, like I can't stop smiling. I've been so fired up because it's historic, it's monumental. This is just such a huge moment for all of us, not just for the obvious reasons of us potentially electing the first woman of color president of this country, but I mean, celebration, but also because we have an opportunity to be on the right side of history. I know we're all familiar with the phrase, united we stand and divided we fall. And we know that with this election, we have two clear choices. You have one side that is choosing to pursue division by any means. And then you have another side that is looking to unite us all as one, move forward together, and really build a stronger future for our country. And that side is Kamala Harris. She is quoted to say, "I believe that the strength that we each have is to lift each other up and not push people down." Now, if you've ever seen any of my content, you know that my foundation for everything I do is lifting each other up and figuring out how we can all live together in one big happy place. So that's my cup of tea, friends. As I create content for this campaign and selection season, I tap into an energy, and I kind of want to share that energy with you guys because I believe that it's more than sharing facts with our friends and family, but it's sharing an energy, sharing that electricity that we feel when we're truly excited about a candidate. When I look at the fact that she supports my reproductive rights, she encourages me to love who I love freely and proudly. She supports universal background checks and AR bans, all of these things. I get excited because I realize she's doing things that are directly affecting me. And she understands that she is a person for the people. She is a representative of us. And as content creators, we're going to be directly affected by the small business owner tax credits that she's putting into place. This affects all of us amazingly. And if you haven't looked into it, I highly suggest you do, because she's putting tax credits into place. It's going to be $50,000 for small business owners. Huge deal, right? So think of things like that and how it's more than just pick her or him, but it's how can I really promote this candidate that is here for me, it's here for my peers, it's here for my family and friends. I feel that we all have such a huge opportunity here in this age of social media and digital marketing. We have our platforms and we have so many ways to reach people. Use that. Connect with your social media friends, your mutuals, your followers, and let's get everyone out to vote. Let's rally amongst each other and really create this electric energy that's going to push us through to the finish line. My favorite phrase of hers is, "When we fight, we win." And I really feel like we can win this together. Thank you.
Thanks, Loren. We can win this together. And everyone joining in today and for being a part of this, thank you. This is the activism that we need. And with that, our next speaker will be Nicky Reardon, a pop culture influencer and host of the podcast Nicky at Night. Nicky, I'll hand it over to you.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I wanted to use my time to really talk about, I think, like the importance of making content or sharing content about politics, even if you're not a political creator, because I am not either. And I think something I've been like weirdly thinking about a lot is that like this growing importance, I think, of social media in our politics and how it's really going to become the norm moving forward. Like Kamala going on Call Her Daddy, and even Trump has been like going on a ton of podcasts and stuff like that. Like this is really the way I think like the internet is about to influence politics and the way we communicate with one another moving forward. And a really interesting but kind of terrifying thing about that is that I think algorithms sort of inadvertently push extremism, right? Like that's not what they're designed to do, but what they do is if somebody engages with a piece of content, then they surface you more pieces of that content. And that is really where this sort of like alt-right pipeline has started to develop on the internet, and you see people falling down this and how terrifying that is. and how it is really interesting that those types of things, like if somebody likes a video like that, they're going to get surfaced 5 more videos like that. The algorithm is not determining whether it's like good or bad. It's just determining whether somebody's going to engage with that or not. So there is like a lot of value to not being a political creator or political analyst or anything and sharing information with people, because if somebody has a belief, their content, the things that are surfaced to them are only going to be things that reinforce that belief, instead of challenging them with new information or data or facts that might prove otherwise. So even if you aren't like a political creator or super actively involved in that way, you know what I mean? Like that is okay. Your voice still matters. And I think it's important to share those things, especially as time goes on. I think this is only going to become like a more, again, like the involvement in social media and politics is only going to grow in the next decade to 2 decades. And it is okay if you're not an expert to simply share data or information. Even if people don't like the data doesn't lie. You know what I mean? And to, disperse some of that, like blame it, or if you're scared of like getting hate comments, I get it. I've been there. And yeah, I don't know. I think that's just really what I wanted to use my time to talk about, is how important it is, I think, for you to like make videos and stuff and not be afraid to share your opinion. Like people like you because of your opinion. That's a beautiful thing. And you should share it freely.
Thanks, Nikki. Thanks for jumping in on that important topic. I think this is something that we at People First spend a lot of time on, and really wanting to, in this idea of digital door knocking, partnering with people who maybe don't post about politics regularly, who can connect with some of the stuff like Loren said about those small business experiences and really authentic relationships with the people who follow them and engage with them and are interested in hearing their opinions. So we do stuff like working with firefighters, teachers, librarians, coal miners, who you name it, to get that vote out there and spread that information to really connect. And you don't necessarily need to be a quote unquote political influencer to talk about the things that matter to you specifically. So thanks for that, Nikki. And with that, our next guest speaker will be Emma Mont. She is the Vice President of Organizer Memes, and a must follow as we all join in and start organizing over the next 26 days.
Thank you. I wanted to take a minute to talk about what it's like to kind of the importance of joy in politics. And I think it's really exciting that we're living in the time of the Harris-Walz candidacy, that they have put such an emphasis on joy. And I think it's really easy to get caught up in all of the kind of, we'll sleep when we're dead, but also if you need to take a nap, you should take a nap. Like taking care of yourself and finding ways to be joyful and find humor are so important in this time, because we only have 3 weeks left. It's going to be a long 3 weeks. It's going to be a tough 3 weeks, but you deserve to take care of yourself and you deserve to laugh. And that's kind of what we do as organizer memes, is despite the craziness of everything that's going on, there's always time to laugh. There's always a moment to there's always things to laugh about. We live in such a crazy world. You deserve a moment to scroll your phone and just giggle, and don't forget about that. Like, you are going to do your best work when you are your best self and you've taken care of yourself. So eat some vegetables, drink some water, watch a 21-minute sitcom, find some joy outside of politics so that you can come back refreshed to knock on all of those doors, to make those phone calls, to make content that someone who is not as involved in politics will want to share. Because as a trusted messenger, that is the most important thing you can do. And we just want you to take care of yourself so that you can continue to be a part of this process, because the more of us that are involved, the easier it is to spread the message. And who knows, maybe after this cycle, you say, I want to run, I want to manage a campaign. So taking care of yourself now is just going to open up so many doors for you later. Yeah, I'm really excited to be here and to talk about Kamala Harris, and also to take time for myself too, because that's the goal here, is that our politics can take care of us as people. So we take care of them now so that we can take care of ourselves also. That's really it.
Thanks, Emma. Such an important thought and message for everybody to understand, especially for newcomers and people who haven't done that deep dive organizing, been on a campaign. And when you first start to get involved, it's easy to get really swept away in it. So remembering to take care of yourself and to have a laugh at a sitcom can really heal. So thanks, Emma. With that, our next speaker is Cristina Ochoa. She is a SoCal-based influencer, sharing her journey in motherhood and community. Thanks, Cristina, for joining us.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. My name is Cristina Ochoa, and I am a Latina mom content creator located in Los Angeles. I cater to the Latinx audience that I feel an obligation to advocate for. And this election, I'm passionate about sharing on my platform the importance of voting and to get the Latino community's voice taken seriously. We need to go out and vote. On my platform, I am constantly starting conversations on taboo topics for the Latino community, as well as sharing resources. And if by sharing one post, I am getting 1 or 100 people out voting, I have already created change. Politicians make decisions based on who is going out and voting. So numbers have to show that the Latino vote is strong. This is our way of putting pressure on representatives to meet our needs. So this election, I will be supporting and voting for Kamala Harris. She supports laws that focus on housing equality and protecting homeownership that for people of color creates generational wealth. Kamala Harris' values and beliefs align with mine. And she is fighting for the rights of women, people of color, and for a better future for my children. So thank you so much for giving me the space to share. I feel so passionate about this, and I hope that the Latino community is going out and voting and that our numbers are strong.
Thanks, Christina. Thanks for the community work that you're doing and for spreading that personal message too. I see your content about you and your family, so thanks for that. Um, and our next speaker, speaking of having a nice chuckle, is Ryan Long, who is an influencer bringing us everything we needed this summer when it came to Kamala's brat summer. So thanks, Ryan, for joining us.
Hi, thanks, Nicole. So, my name's Ryan Long. I'm excited to have a chance to speak. If you know me, it's probably from my viral brat edit that I made in early July that took on a whole new life on the internet once Biden dropped out of the race. I'm really excited just to see the energy in the room and online for Kamala Harris. I'm from Pennsylvania, which could be the state that decides this election. And I know it feels kind of hopeless at times, but I feel like there is hope. I personally have several friends from Pennsylvania who weren't going to vote in November, and they've now come around. They're going to vote. And I guess in the next 26 days, it's more important than ever. And every single post counts in an election where it really could come down to just a couple thousand votes in some swing states. I know while most of us in this room, we're all tuned in politically, we see the political stuff on our feeds, but there's a lot of people that have absolutely no politics or almost no politics in their feeds. And which is why I just encourage everyone to put as many voting reminders up as they can, because just one post can be what gets people to go to vote.gov and go on and vote. So I encourage people to just share it as much as they can. And going off of what Loren said, I know just checking with your friends to make sure they're registered. I know my mom's done that with a few people. She's gone to some of my sister's friends and been like, have you voted? Have you voted? And she's gotten a few people registered, and I think that's just really great. And if we all do that, we could even maybe decide the fate of the election in the swing states. But thank you, people first, for putting this together, and I'm going to pass it back to Nicole.
Thanks, Ryan. And thanks for sharing all that helpful information too about just getting that vote out there and spreading the positive messages online. If we're all doing it, then the pressure will be on. And with that, our next speaker is Liza Monet Morales, who is an actor, TV host, and activist, and someone who I know is just ready to be committed to getting the job done in the next 26 days. So thanks for joining us. Oh, you're still on mute. You're still on mute, just by the way.
You would think after all this time, all the things. Thank you all so much for being here. It's been awesome just hearing everybody speak. Thank you, Nicole, for having me. As mentioned, I'm Liza Monet Morales, also known as XOXO Liza with two Z's, please. And I'm super excited and honored to be here with you all tonight. I'm a born storyteller and I wear many hats. And I know as creatives, we all do. So some days I'm an actor, some days I'm a producer. I get blessed to also be a speaker. I'm also a best-selling author and a creator, among others. But no matter what, though, I'm a passionate activist dedicating to doing all I can, and a dog mom, as you can hear. He too, dogs for Kamala. I love it. All I can to help move the needle forward. Now, I've worked on several campaigns in the past, and I've done everything from phone banking to door knocking to, running a voter registration drive in a battleground state earlier this year. And I'm excited here to be tonight and use my time as we gather during this critical moment. And we're so, being surrounded by so many inspiring creators, leaders, and change makers to really talk about one key thing that I see being an issue. And that happens to be misinformation. This past weekend, I can say I had the privilege of co-hosting a special Camp Kamala for Latinos here in Los Angeles with the incredible Cristela Alonso, who you may all know as a comedian. And let me tell you, the energy in that room was amazing. People came in from all over, eager to learn, get activated, and to make a difference. I left feeling really inspired and even more committed to, getting the job done, as Nicole mentioned. But it also reminded me of how fast misinformation is actually being spread right now. In these final weeks of the election, we know from past elections, specifically 2020, these last 26 days is when election can either be won or lost. And representation, of course, matters, which is why I am excited to see Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Walz be elected. But as mentioned, this misinformation is spreading very quickly. Deep fakes is the one that is really going at a higher speed than we've seen in the past. I've gotten word from several others who are working on mitigating some of this misinformation on the back end that we're going to see a lot more in these next 2 weeks. You might have already seen Polifax has been out there fact checking some of the speeches. One that's going around right now that shows Vice President Harris incorrectly slurring. They took an old speech and have really changed it. And the reason I want to flag it is because all of you, whether you have an audience of 1 million or you have an audience of 5, we all are influencers in our own communities, with our families, with our friends. And I know that we all deeply care about our country. And so I really invite you and I challenge you all that if you see this misinformation happening, to make time in your creating schedule to make a video that actually calls it out. I think the more that we can call out the negativity that we see happening out there, the misfacts that are going out there, the way that they are in terms of spreading it, we can come together and actually counter that with truth, the more of an impact I think that we'll have. Now, I also say, as creators, I think we all have the responsibility to use our platforms in a way that is making this change. And I myself am more than happy and would be willing to collaborate with any of you all to help if you want to make content in either Spanish or English. As mentioned, I did co-host Camp Kamala for Latinos this weekend. Tonight, Vice President Harris is actually doing a town hall for Latinos where she'll be speaking to undecided voters in Las Vegas, answering questions that they have about the election, and hopefully getting more Latinos, because we know we are the second biggest voting bloc out there, to actually vote for both her and for Governor Harris. That said, I know that a lot of people are going to take advantage of this and try to figure out if there's ways that they can misconstruct what she said to their advantage. So again, if you see that, I invite you to really create content that sets the record straight. And it will be happening tonight. If you head over to my stories at XOXO Liza with 2 Z's, please, you'll see that I shared a graphic with information both in English and Spanish for people to join. If you can help us spread that message, that would be great. For the first time ever, we actually have seen an administration that's going above and beyond to really connect with Latinos. WhatsApp is a really big thing in my community. They've created the first WhatsApp channel for people that are interested in getting her elected. If you'd like to join, I'd be happy to send you the invite. You can also send me a DM. Additionally, I'm going to share 2 links in the chat that are really helpful for us to reach those Latinos that are in battleground states. If you're in a surge state like I am in California, we want to take our power and extend it out to others. And there's currently bus trips happening happening to both Arizona and Las Vegas every single weekend leading up to the end of this election on November 5th. And if you'd like to join, please do. We'd love to have you come out. We'd love to have you, we'll have a good time on the bus, but to get out there, knock on some doors and talk to some people. There's also going to be a link if you want to join the phone banking for Latinos specifically. If you're bilingual, we need you even more. But even if you're not, or even if you're Latino de corazon and just want to help us reach those, voters that still have questions or are on the fence, or even just maybe want help putting their plan together of what the best way is to vote ahead of time or how to find their poll. You'd be surprised. There's a lot of elderly citizens within the Latino community that need these simple questions asked and don't really know who to ask. So if there's any way that you can spread some time to do that, then I invite you to click on those links that I'm going to share in the chat. And in closing, I just really want to thank you all so much for being here, for spending your time with us. And just remember that at the end of the day, she se puede. I'm so excited to hopefully celebrate with you all, because we definitely aren't going back and the future looks bright. Thanks to each and every single one of you. Thanks so much. Bye.
Thanks, Liza, and thanks for sharing all of that information and for dropping that in the channel for everybody. If you haven't done a bus trip to another city to do some door knocking, you've got to get on it. Not only is it a great way to get out there and do door knocking, but also build community on those bus rides. I always have the most fun getting to know everybody. So if you haven't done that yet, be sure to participate. Thanks, Liza. And with that, we will jump over to our next speaker, Saad Amer, who is a founder of Justice Environment and a United Nations consultant who is live, I think, at a Kamala event right now. So thanks for joining us.
Hello! Hi, everybody. That is correct. I'm coming at you live from right here in Arizona, where Kamala Harris is about to do a massive rally. We got Kamala. Y'all voting for Kamala? We got Coach Walsh. Coach Walsh is in the house. We got, of course, here in the lovely battleground state of Arizona, where there's literally thousands of people gathered in there right now. There's a massive line of people. I think they stopped letting people in because of security. And there is just so much energy and electricity here on the ground in Arizona. And I want you all to know that with the audiences that you have, what you say really matters. There are tons of people, particularly younger folks, don't know how to register to vote, don't know where their polling place is, don't know how to engage. And that basic level of communication, we don't see it in traditional media enough, right? It's on us to teach our communities what to do and how to take action. For me, I'm a climate activist. I work in the climate field, and a lot of my work is based specifically on mobilizing people to get out and vote. And, I think about right here in Arizona, where it's actually 100 degrees right now, and that's not an exaggeration. Like, I'm actually sweating in this shirt. Actually, back here, I have right there, that blue, that's my suit jacket. I'm not wearing it. It's too hot. And we're seeing Hurricane Helene and the hurricane that just made landfall in Florida, devastating these communities. We're seeing how climate change is massively impacting our country right now. And let's be honest, there's a huge difference between our candidates on climate, right? Kamala Harris, massive record on climate change, helped pass made the deciding vote for Senate on the Inflation Reduction Act. Herself, as VP, made that vote to give us the biggest investment in climate policy ever. She literally sued Obama for fracking. That's kind of iconic. Meanwhile, they're gonna eat your cats, they're gonna eat your dogs. We just have madness on the other side, right? We see Project 2025, which is actively aimed at rolling back climate policy. We see rollbacks in Project 2025 on the Clean Air Act, on the Clean Water Act, and very importantly, in this moment, we see rollbacks on FEMA, which is, all the people who are stuck in the crowd, they are literally screaming with excitement. They're not even inside. So I love this energy. But anyway, so, when we look at Project 2025, there are massive rollbacks to FEMA, which is how our federal agencies specifically address these massive crises and deliver emergency services to all of these communities. I'm sure y'all have been on social media seeing people's homes floating away, not even on rivers, on the roads that are just inundated with water. We are moving into quite literally uncharted waters when it comes to the climate crisis. And a lot of this education, we don't see our media covering enough. We have to talk about these issues. We're the ones who are going to have to get out there and mobilize. I'm personally organizing a series of buses and different activations in swing states across the country. I'm personally based in New York, and I'm literally organizing buses to bring some of our cool friends up from New York into Pennsylvania to do the damn thing, right? We have people coming up from DC as well and doing activations all across the country. Right now, I'm going to keep it real with you. I'm going to keep it real. We got this cute hat. We're at this rally. This is the time. We literally have 28 days until this election. This is going to decide climate policy. This is going to determine reproductive rights. It's also going to determine if we have to wake up every day to having our national world of news just be set by like whatever BS we're seeing on Twitter. Like, I'm not into that. Like, Kamala Harris says we're not going back. And like, personally, I'm not going back to that. I'm not interested in that. So this is the time to mobilize your audiences and talk about these things. And I'll be honest, you'll probably experience a little flack. You'll have a little bit of pushback. But you're also going to have people that are going to join your side and respect you for using your voice to talk about what you care about. And when you can activate your community to do something powerful, you actually can change the entire world, because that is the only thing that has ever changed the world. So I want you all to keep mobilizing and to take action. I'm going to share my socials in the chat so we can follow each other and be friends. I want to invite you all to continue to organize in rallies like this, as well as other campaigns that we have with the Harris campaign, as well as the ones that I'm organizing across the climate movement with some of our favorite climate organizations like Climate Power, the League of Conservation Voters, and many others that are doing incredible work on the ground. So this is the time to get activated. We all have to share our favorite resources. We have to get that message out there. I want to see stories. I want to see reels. I want to see TikToks. I want to see Instagram posts. I want to see it all. I will reshare it. I will comment, like, post, subscribe, all the things. But we're the ones who have to do that right now. Time is of the essence, and I'm counting on you. All right? I'm going to get back there. I'm going to see Auntie Harris, and thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for bringing some of that live event energy to us. That's really appreciate that, and appreciate you taking the time to join us. And with that, we will jump over to our next speaker, Phil Chan, who's a wonderful choreographer and ballet diversity advocate. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, folks. Good evening, everybody. I'm the co-founder of an organization called Final Bow for Yellowface. My name is Phil Chan. Basically, if you've seen The Nutcracker and you see, ooh, there's a little bit of racism going on, I'm behind the movement that got ballet companies all over the world to stop doing yellowface and caricatured versions of Asian people. This movement really started in 2017, actually in response to the election of Trump. I was just seeing the ugliness that this Pandora's box had opened up all around me, and I felt so hopeless. What could I, as one person, do? And I just thought, well, I can't change the world. I can't make this giant, monster go away. But what can I do in my little tiny corner of the world? How can I make my little backyard a little bit better? And so, okay, so I'm a dancer. I work in ballet. The arts have always been a way to build empathy. Think about your favorite character in a movie or a book. They might have a different gender than you, a different walk of life, a different race, a different age. But in the span of that movie, or while you're reading that book, you get to put yourself in someone else's shoes and experience what life would be like as somebody else. The arts are critical right now to building empathy. And so if we have these caricatured versions, blackface, yellowface, it doesn't do us any favors in terms of building that empathy, because we have this wall up where we just see these people who are different than us as the butt of the joke, or as illegals, or as bad people, bad blood. That kind of rhetoric divides us, and that's not who we are as Americans. So we bought yellowface.org for, I think, $11 at the time, and we got ballet companies all over the world to start saying, hey, we're going to do better. The arts are also a critical part of our ecosystem. We see Republicans across the country cutting arts budgets because the arts are powerful. The arts are a way to not just be entertaining, but also to connect with each other, to have a shared social experience, to see each other with more nuance, with more empathy, with more humanity. And that is what's missing with Donald Trump's campaign. And I believe that Kamala Harris is going to come in and really make sure that we're on the right path as a country. So for folks who are on the fence about, what can I do as just one single person? I'm actually like a nobody. I'm not a famous dancer at all, but it's because of this work. It's because of my persistence that said, okay, I'm going to make a difference in my small little corner of the world. And it's had this beautiful ripple effect of, let's see each other with more nuance and empathy. So I urge all of you out there to please call your friends, get your family members, have those hard conversations, especially those of us who have family members who are supporting Donald Trump. It's really important to actually take up the courage. And if we all can even change one person's mind or get one person to come out and vote, we've done our job. So just think about the small handful of people that you can make a difference in. Who are the 3 or 4 people in your community that can really help move the needle? And if we all do that, we will win this election and put America right back on track of where we should be. So I'm just honored to be in the company of so many other advocates. And yeah, please support the arts. Thank you so much, folks.
Thanks, Phil, and thanks for all the work that you're doing in the arts. It's so important and so critical, and for just remaining persistent and for speaking to us about that. Thank you so much. And with that, we'll jump over to our next speaker, Sari Beth Rosenberg, who is a history teacher, content creator, writer, co-founder of Teachers Unify, an organization that's empowering educators to demand safer regulations around and protection from gun violence. There's probably so much more. With that, I'll hand it off.
The list goes on and on. You can tell I'm pretty busy. And I have to say, it's just such an honor to be on the call with all of you tonight. I'm just so grateful for the incredible work that all of you creators and influencers and are doing, and just grateful to everyone who's been working so hard to get Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, and everyone down ballot, which I'm so glad that the other speakers mentioned that. Just we need to think of not just this is a presidential election, but down ballot races are just as important. And I want to thank people first for organizing an epic call tonight so far. So yes, as you heard in the introduction, aside from being a content creator and writer, I'm a co-founder of Teachers Unify to End Gun Violence. We're a national organization amplifying and supporting teacher voices to demand that our communities are safe from gun violence, our schools and communities. But my main job, the one that pays the bills, is that I'm a full-time public school, high school history teacher, social studies teacher like Tim Walz once was. And I've been teaching US history to 11th graders for, you're not going to believe this because I'm so young, but for 22 plus years now. And so as both a student and a teacher of history, I can tell you that we are already making history, each and every one of you watching tonight, in a way that we have been, we've all been in our own ways, have been democratizing information on our respective platforms. So I'm really proud of each and every one of you for doing that. And listen, my message to all of you is, I know it's tough. It's been a long, long election season, but my message to you tonight is to keep going. We are bringing news to people in a way that is transforming the media and political ecosystem. And what's great about it is that we're bringing more people into the fold, into the mix in record numbers. The data proves it. And like, I know people always keep saying that Gen Z is chronically online. Everyone is chronically online, right? And, they're not just getting their news from traditional sources anymore. We will always need, I want to tell traditional news networks that are watching this, we always will need you. But I want everyone to realize we can all work together, because creators are helping to meet people where they are. And by doing that, we're getting them to vote and understand the importance of not just voting for POTUS, but down ballot too. And I also know that because of our hard work and because we have an inspiring and incredible candidate, and let me also add something others have been saying tonight, one of the most qualified presidential candidates in history. I'm a history teacher, I know that. We are going to be celebrating this history-making election when Harris is elected as the 47th president of the United States. And I'm just going to close with some inspirational words, because this is one of the most important elections in American history. And I would say, unless you're like almost 100, the most important one of our lifetimes thus far. This election, this 2024 election, is a choice between a few things, right? It's a choice between the future and the past. It's also a choice between continuing this idealistic, although not fully realized, American experiment in democracy, or it's the choice of shutting it all down and selling it for parts to billionaires and wannabe and soon-to-be autocrats. It's also a choice between multiracial democracy and a Christo-fascist white supremacy. It's a choice between a vote for what this country can be versus what this country used to be. And so here's the thing. Do not, I know you all aren't going to sit this one out, but keep the power of just telling one friend, one family member, one coworker, one frenemy, one neighbor, anyone, the importance of this election in your own personal way. It's so powerful because there are more of us, I truly believe this, that there are more of us that want to move forward. We all just need to, I know you're going to say it, vote. Because as president, I'm going to add a little addendum to this. President Harris always, Vice President Harris, I said president, but Vice President Harris always says when we fight, we win. I'm going to add something to that. I'm going to conclude with that when we vote, we win. So thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thanks, Sari. And yes, when we vote, we win. And when we vote, we can make change to see that gun violence prevention happening across schools and everywhere. So thank you for all the work that you do as well in space. And with that, we will jump over to our next speaker, Kondi Untini, who is a Philly-based singer, This is what happens when I start getting too excited and moving ahead on my notes. Who continues to spread the thirst for democracy. You've probably seen all of their posts on Twitter. Thanks, Kondi, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. And I'm so glad that so many of the speakers have been talking about joy, because just for so long, politics has just been so dark, so heavy, and so stressful that I'm sure a lot of people just disassociated themselves with it. So I'm so glad that a leader like Kamala Harris exists, who shows us that we can bring joy and also serious work together. So inspired by her, I created Thirst for Democracy. And what that basically is that I highlight some of the very good-looking people in the Democratic Party, and that helps people pay attention to politics, pay attention to the different layers of government, how the different layers of government work together. And it's just a form of civic engagement that gives people a soft landing and a safe space online to commune, to have community, and just talk about politics and just have a laugh. Because the main thing is that what usually happens is we only engage around election time. And then there's a huge disconnect, like, why should I vote? What are these people doing for me? So if we can find ways to get people civically engaged all the time, when it comes down to election time, they're ready to get to the polls. They're ready to volunteer and do what they need to do to make sure that people are elected. And what I love about the thirst for democracy and the people that we follow and that we love, like John Ossoff, who I call Senator My Boo, Senator Warnock, President Bay, who is President Obama, is that they are the best surrogates for Harris Walls as well. So while I cannot vote for Kamala Harris, I'm a non-citizen, and despite what the other side wants to tell you, I literally cannot vote. And I'm not going to try to vote either because I'm not trying to get deported. But I do have a voice. So what I always try and do is encourage people to not only vote, but to vote early. So go to iwillvote.com and please just bank your vote. And once you've banked your vote, then I need you to get other people to vote. And a couple of the other speakers have spoken in great detail about how you do that. And then just volunteer. Go to go.kamalaharris.com. And also, this is a little hint, get in touch with your local Democratic Party office. That is really your first entry point. It'll also make sure that you are clued up about who is running down ballots. They give out free lawn signs, they have great events, and even when the national figures come to town, they're the ones who are organizing the events. So definitely get in touch with them. And someone asked me to also shout out to voters abroad. There are millions of voters who live abroad. So make sure, if you know anyone who's living abroad, make sure that they're getting their ballots and that they're voting. and the website is votefromaboard.org. So as I said, I'm an immigrant, I'm a Black woman, and I just know the Democratic Party really is the only party that's looking out for my interests, looking out for my family's interests, and looking out for my kids' interests. So I just want to implore everyone to understand that politics can be fun, it can be exciting, and it can be a little bit racy too. So please have a lifelong thirst for democracy and vote because, well, I can't.
Thank you, and thanks for all of the hard work that you do to build a platform and use your voice to continue to uplift all of the amazing content that you share online as well. Really appreciate that. And we'll jump over to our next speaker, and I won't get too out of myself. We have Dara Star Tucker, who's joining us, who is a Philly-based singer-songwriter, social commentator, and satirist. Thanks for joining us, and I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for having me. I've been really encouraged listening to all these speakers, and I'm always just so amazed to be around so many people who are active in politics. And for me as a creator this year, I've just been able to, I guess, experience a completely different vantage point of an election. You know, I was one of those people, even though I was a highly motivated voter, I was never someone who was very much involved with the political process before it was time to vote, before this election. And so being pulled in, just because I am a content creator and I talk about social and political and cultural issues, I was already talking about a lot of these issues that impact all of us. But the unique experience for me this year is that I've started to work with a lot of organizations, C3 and C4 organizations, nonprofits, and political action groups that have been asking me to help get out messaging this year around a variety of things. So it's been an educational experience for me to even be in that space now, informing myself much more about issues like reproductive rights, about climate change, about the economy. And I just did a video on corporate taxes and just all kinds of issues that I would not have examined as closely as I'm examining them now, had I not been a content creator. So that's a really interesting shift for me. And to hear about, you know, how many people are doing canvassing and are doing phone banking, it's a perspective that most people actually don't get to see. And I want to bring more of that perspective to my audience. I've really worked on doing that. So I am living in Pennsylvania. And this is also my first time living in a swing state, which is a unique experience in and of itself. I'm going to do a little kind of a cutesy video, I think, on just the amount of junk mail that we receive from, you know, every kind of cause. It's just, it piles up. I mean, week by week, we have stacks of mail that we're getting. So to kind of experience this also from the vantage point of someone who lives in a swing state, we live in one of the states that will decide the election this year. And I am a content creator with a pretty broad reach. So I am feeling the responsibility of that this year, unlike any other year before now. So I'm constantly asking myself, what is the way that I can be the most effective in what I'm doing? And one of the ways that I've started to hone in on is that really as we're getting closer to the election, because we're like a month out at this point, people are starting to reach out and they're asking questions, and they kind of always have, but they're asking very pointed questions because people who are sort of detached from the process, low information voters, they're just now plugging in. And it's hard for us to remember sometimes. They're not necessarily examining these issues at a micro level in the way we are. I had a person who reached out today to me to ask, hey, if I don't vote for everyone on the ballot, am I still okay? Are they going to invalidate my ballot if I don't fill out all of these markers? And so using those curiosities and those questions as prompts for the content that I'm creating. Someone else reached out because my home state is Oklahoma, and they said, hey, I want you to talk about, I'm waiting for you to talk about this whole issue with the Bibles being placed in the schools in Oklahoma and all of this stuff. I want to hear your perspective. And so being plugged into my viewers and listeners and using their curiosity and their experiences and their questions as prompts for my content creation, I think is one of the shifts that I have made recently that hopefully will help me to be much more in touch with where the average person is who is not a content creator, and hopefully will help me create some targeted content that will do the most good in this election season. So that's where my focus is as a creator. And I just want to thank you all for having me as a part of this event. And stay encouraged, everybody. It's easy to be discouraged right now, but tune out of the news, tune out of the polls if you have to, and keep yourself encouraged as a content creator so that you can encourage other people.
Thanks, Dara. And thanks for doing the work to build that close network too of people within your community to get the message out there and spread information. In such a critical state, it seems like all eyes are on Pennsylvania right now. So thank you. And with that, we will jump over to our next speaker. We have Tim Miller joining us, who is a political content man, Bulwark podcast host, and MSNBC analyst. So thanks for joining us, Tim. I'll pass it to you. Oh, we may be having technical difficulties. Tim, are you with us?
Let's jump to Daley and then we can come back to Tim.
Alrighty, sounds good. We'll jump over to Daley, Gruen, or is Tim here? Tim, you want to jump in?
Oh, I'm here. Sorry about that. I didn't know I didn't know you were going to come to me so quick. Thank you for doing it. I appreciate that. Hey, everybody. I think that my role here as the actual political influencer is two things. One, as a former Republican, don't throw tomatoes. I can tell you, I know these assholes that are around Donald Trump, and they're worse than you think, if that's possible. It is a deeply nihilistic group, and the types of people that would be around him, God forbid if he get in, it's as bad as you may think that first round was. It would be a category difference in the quality of people and their willingness to execute on some of Trump's worst plans. So if that didn't give you the shakes enough here for Thursday night, hopefully I can fill my role of giving everybody the jump scare that they need. But more importantly, here's the thing: the people out there that are undecided. I'm not talking about the people that are wavering between Trump and Obama, Trump and Harris, and believe it, some of those people still exist. But the core group of people that is undecided, that is relevant to this group, are people that are basically Democrats. They are in Democratic constituencies, either younger or people of color, and like they're deciding between voting for Harris or just not taking the time to vote. As my buddy Vicari Seller said, they're deciding between Harris and the couch. And I think that is where this community, creators, people that speak to folks who are not political obsessives in this last month, like those are the most important audiences. Like those are much more important audiences than me like slapping my jaw on MSNBC. Like that's doing nothing of value, honestly, at this point. Though I appreciate the platform. Like the people that need to be spoken to are people that just don't pay that much attention to politics and maybe follow you for your other creative pursuits. And so that is a worthwhile endeavor for you and other creators and other friends that you have that have platforms, particularly those that don't talk about politics that much on their platforms. Those are the people that can be the most helpful in reaching the types of voters that Harris is still struggling with, that she's doing much better with than Biden was, but still she could use another nudge with. So I hope you use your platforms for that. If there's anything that I can do, you can DM me. I'm talking to any group that'll let me jabber about the importance of Kamala Harris, because the alternative is just really too bad to fathom. So let's all get out there, do everything we can. Less than a month to go. Hopefully we can all meet together in the Coconut Grove with Kamala in December and January. Appreciate y'all.
Thanks, Tim. We're happy to have you here and jabbering away on all the things Kamala Trump this year. And with that, we will now jump over to Daley Gruen. Thanks for joining us. Daley is the creator of Fan Out, an organization helping friends vote and also winning amazing prizes. So with that, I'll hand it over to you.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks for having me here. My name's Daley. I'm the founder of Fan Out, and I used to be a political organizer. And when I was doing that, I learned that the most effective way to mobilize voters isn't canvassing or phone banking or postcarding, all of which are really important and we do love, but it's actually what we call relational organizing, which is getting your friends and family to vote. And it works so much better because you have trust and accountability between you as opposed to going out and bugging strangers who don't pick up random numbers anyways. So I started to wonder, how could we incentivize more people to do relational organizing, reaching out to their friends and getting them to vote. And that's actually when the Taylor Swift Ticketmaster debacle happened, where millions of people tried to buy her tickets all at once and the system crashed. And it was clear to me that fans will move heaven and earth to see their idols. And so it kind of dawned on me, what if we could harness that energy to get people to help their friends vote if it meant getting a chance to see their idols? So we set about making Fan Out, and we are a nonpartisan nonprofit where people get entries into contests for amazing prizes every time they do two things. One, get a friend to check that they're registered to vote, or two, get a friend to create a voting plan. And they do this all with our web app, which is you get your own URL and you send it to your friend and you get them to check that they've done both of those things. You've earned entries. Right now we have 10 incredible contests running, ranging from a trip to see the Eras Tour, to a VIP fan experience at a 76ers game, to a 4-day Caribbean cruise with Broadway's biggest stars on the Broadway cruise. And these contests are working. We've already cultivated 200,000 of these voter mobilizations. And so I want to ask you folks on this call three things. One, I encourage you to participate in a contest. I'll share the links in the Slack. So, get out, get your friends and family and followers, check their registration, make voting plans. I know you're already doing that. Why not earn entries into incredible contests while you do it too? The second thing is include Fan Out as a call to action in your content. I know you're looking for ways for people, your followers, to actually take action. So unlike the other actions you'd ask them to do, like canvassing or phone banking, it's the one thing they can do right on the spot without even leaving their couch. And the third thing, and this kind of just occurred to me on this call, if any of you all have, because you are influencers and content creators, if you have your own rabid fans who would move heaven and earth to do something like a virtual meet and greet with you, maybe reach out and maybe we come up with a new contest that's oriented around you. So I will share our links in the Slack, and as well as a way to contact me, which is daily@fanout.vote. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Daley. Thanks for dropping all that info in the chat too. And speaking of Broadway stars, our next speaker will be Andrew Keenan-Bolger, who is a Broadway actor, writer, and a director, to join us tonight. So with that, I'll pass it over to you, Andrew.
Hey everyone. So my name is Andrew Keenan-Bolger. Thank you to everyone on this call. I'm so inspired by all of you. Just a little bit about myself. I am a Broadway actor, director, author, and creator. And I've been in the social media game ever since I first uploaded a video to YouTube in 2005. And ever since, social media has been a tool to promote my work, build my business, and connect with my community. So as a queer creator, I am so proud to support Kamala Harris. I think because she really understands the challenges that we as creatives face. I'll admit, when I first started out, I thought I was just posting pretty photos and making silly videos. But it wasn't until I started earning income off of that hobby and had to do my taxes that first year that I realized I was not just an artist. I was running a small business. Being a creator is so much more than just creating content. It's about navigating the responsibilities of being a business owner, and Kamala gets that. So just some stats for y'all. 27 million Americans, roughly 14% of the population age 16 to 54, are currently earning income as a creator. 44% of them are doing this as their full-time job. That's just a huge, huge portion of our population, and it's growing year over year. And in the influencer space, it's an industry that was largely started and is led by women, queer people, and people of color. We've built communities that thrive on creativity, inclusivity, and connection. And it's essential that we have a leader who values the contributions that we bring to the economy. Kamala has been a champion for our communities, fighting for equality and standing up for LGBTQ rights, women's rights, and POC rights. And in an industry like ours, which is often shaped by marginalized voices, having like someone like Kamala in our corner means that our work and our rights will be protected. And in a time where our rights feel increasingly under threat, she is the ally that we need in the White House, standing firm against any rollback of our hard-fought freedoms. Just on the business side, she recently announced the Entrepreneurs and Innovators Policy Plan, and it shows just how deeply she understands the importance of supporting small businesses like ours. Now, the Biden-Harris administration, they have already paved the way with 19 million new business applications and 70% of new U.S. jobs created by small businesses since 2019. Kamala's plan builds on the success and sets a bold goal of 25 million new small business applications in her first term. And she is also making sure that we have the tools needed to succeed. For instance, her proposal to expand the tax deduction for startup expenses from 5,000 to 50,000. And that's going to give creators like me some much needed room to invest in our businesses, especially when it comes to making purchases like equipment, styling, travel, photographers, and assistants. And she's committed to reducing the time and money that we spend on filing taxes with a standard small business tax deduction. As creators, every moment and every dollar saved can go right back into growing what we built. So Kamala, she understands that access to capital is oftentimes a big barrier for us. Her small business expansion fund will make it easier for underserved communities to get affordable loans and create jobs. So this is crucial for women, POC, and queer-owned businesses that might otherwise struggle to find the resources that they need to thrive. I believe that Kamala Harris is the leader that we need to support our dreams, protect our communities, and ensure that women, POC, and queer people continue to lead this industry with strength and creativity. Thank all of you for standing with her and for standing with all of us as we build, innovate, and create. See y'all.
Thanks, Andrew. And huge shout out to everyone for spending this evening with us, for sharing such amazing and thoughtful words with everyone as we journey into the next 26 days. We really appreciate everybody's time and for committing to the next 26 days together and for getting the message out there. So thank you all. With that, I would also like to introduce my colleague, Ryan Davis. You've probably seen him in the chat, helping to monitor stuff and keeping us on track as we work. So also, thanks, Ryan, for your help, and I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nicole. This was a fantastic gathering. You know, we work with creators every day who don't do political posts, getting them over that line to make a post. So I encourage you, if you haven't, gotten into politics yet, your voice really matters. And, now's the time to do it. We're at 26 days. So it was awesome. We had so many great panelists. We're committed to keeping this conversation going in the Slack. So over the next 26 days, we're going to be dropping in some of our favorite content from the Harris campaign and from other folks making great content. We encourage you to drop your best content, and let's get some engagement going. Let's get some sharing going. We had people on the call from Pennsylvania today. Like, if you have 25 followers in Pennsylvania, that might be just enough to put Harris over the over the line there. So every single vote's going to count, and everybody has a voice, and we just encourage you to use it. So thank you all for coming out tonight. This was fantastic. We had about 500 unique creators come through to watch parts of this. We're going to cut it up and put it on social. We're going to post the whole thing and share it. So yeah, we encourage you to keep going and reach out if you need anything on the Slack. We're here to help. And I think we finished this basically on time, which is pretty awesome. So thank you, Nicole. Thanks to the People First team who put so much work into this. And let's keep up the momentum. We got 26 days.
Thanks, everybody. Now let's go vote. Let's spread the message and have a good rest of your evening.
We'll see you on Slack. Ciao.
Bye, everyone.
Let's do it.
Do it.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, everybody.